佛，阿弥陀佛，
阿弥陀佛。
呀，阿弥陀佛。可以了。好，阿弥陀佛。我们现在先请法，由我们的居士他来请法，要绕佛三匝。请大家合掌。
恭敬大德僧听，为此法会集一切众生，请转妙法轮，教导我们如何了生脱死离苦得乐，速证无生。Will the Sangha with great virtue, out of compassion for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to leave suffering and attain bliss, and end birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth.
后面的中文。
南无萨旦陀。
Yeah.
南无萨旦陀苏切多耶阿那诃帝三藐三菩陀谢。
好 ，OK。无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。好，阿弥陀佛，
阿弥陀佛。
首先我们欢迎来今天晚上来一起研究《佛说无量寿经》。这个《佛说无量寿经》，那这个呢，我们 之前因为我们这个好像是我们已经你去万佛圣城的时候，你会看到这个山门大门，它就写万佛圣城。所以我们今天来研究佛说无量寿经，也是这个我们已经来到这个我们的万佛圣城这个大门一样的。
Welcome everyone. We again pick up our discussion and study of the Sutra of Limitless Life. And today, since it's another beginning, it's akin to us paying homage to the city of 10,000 Buddhas. This being the beginning, we're here again, right at the mountain gate of CTTB.
我们今天我们讲这个无量寿经呢，这一本呢，这个是莲池大师讲康增凯。我们今天用的这个无量寿经是康增凯寿经，它弘扬最广，寿命最长，而且能够延9000多年，所以这个我们今天用的是康增凯本，康增凯本。
There are many translation versions of the original sutra from Sanskrit. The version we're using today, the Sutra of Limitless Life spoken by the Buddha, was a translation done in the Jin dynasty by a monk from India called Kang Sangkai, and again is one of many versions, but this one is the most celebrated and most propagated throughout China, and it is the sutra itself, of course, has been marked by the Buddha to be the last sutra that will survive the Dharma ending age, which means the next 9,000 years or so, this sutra will be in practice and revered by disciples.
好，之前呢，我们要来先礼佛，我们先大家一样的，能够一起来礼佛，就是我们的后面的佛阿弥陀佛、释迦牟尼佛，或者是仙公上人都可以。好，我们大家一起来先礼佛三拜。
Let's begin by bowing to the Buddhas in place, whether you're bowing to Shakyamuni Buddha, Amitabha Buddha, or even to the Venerable Master.
Yeah, 好。好，我们呢，今天是第一次就是我们 COVID-19 过来，我们停掉了。之前我们有来研究无量寿经，因为 COVID-19 后来我们就停了。那我们今天重新开始。
So again, this is we're picking up where we left off, interrupted by, among many things, the pandemic. As you remember, we had been lecturing on this sutra for quite a while before the break, but we're here again, gonna go for it.
OK，我想要介绍一下我们的这个慧芳啊，他是我们的仙公上人的老弟子，所以以前无量寿经的时候，他都来帮忙来做翻译，所以跟大家也介绍一下。
By way of introduction, Fred Fong sitting here, myself, an old disciple of the Venerable Master, had helped out earlier during previous lectures on this sutra. So here I am again, helping out.
好 ，OK， 因为第一天呢，我想跟大家来 cheer up， 就是给大家一个欢喜，因为今天是特别的来做这个活动，我们来跟大家用这个来，好像是大家一起来念佛，很高兴，又好像是过年一样的，所以呢，我把这个老夫子这个来请出来，也等一下我们来听听这个音乐。
Today being another beginning and it's really special. It's almost like it's a Chinese New Year celebration again. So to lighten things up, I have invited the old Confucius here to be with us.
好，我们大家来。好，我们就请老夫子回去啦，我们就正式来讲无量寿经。因为无量寿经呢，我们 COVID-19 以前我们有讲过，再后来我们就没有COVID-19 以后就停掉了，这个经呢，无量寿经呢，它是释迦牟尼佛，在2000多年以前的时候，他就来讲这个经。
So again, we are picking up where we left off from last time, many moons ago, to again study this important sutra spoken by the Buddha himself 2,500 some years ago.
那因为它这个无量寿经非常重要，它是这个大经，阿弥陀经算无量寿经的这个小经，佛说阿弥陀经小经。那无量寿经呢，它是一个大经，所以呢，释迦牟尼佛，他因为一个大事因缘出世于世呢，所以他要来开佛的知见，是佛的知见，悟入佛的知见，所以来讲这个经。
This sutra, the Sutra of Limitless Life, compared to the Amitabha Sutra, is known as the greater sutra that introduces us to Amitabha Buddha. The Amitabha Buddha Sutra is then known as the smaller sutra. So one is the bigger one, this one, and the other one is smaller one. But both were spoken by the Buddha, who appear in this world because of one great matter, to open up our own Buddha nature so that we also attain the same wisdom.
所以呢，他就是说，我们要能够悟入佛的这个知识，我们有佛的正知正见的智慧呢，那我们来修行，那这个事就容易了。
Wisdom, of course, is the core teaching, and if we have the proper wisdom and proper view of the Buddha, that kind of wisdom, if we rely on it to cultivate, then we will also attain the same result.
所以呢，我们有这个佛的这个智慧呢，来去生活，就是穿衣吃饭啊这些呢，那就你会大家都会觉得很高兴，因为我们在念佛嘛，我们知道这个佛，而且我们每天礼拜一到礼拜四中午，我们都有在念佛，12点半到1点，我们都在念佛，所以我们这个都是来开佛的这个智慧，来在生活上我们来运用，这个是非常快乐、康庄大道的一个生活。
If we apply this wisdom to our daily life, our life would be filled with joy, and it would be a life filled with happiness. It's like we're walking towards our goal through a broad boulevard. So that's why every week, Monday through Thursday, from 11:30 to 1, we have Amitabha recitation session to help us along the way.
Yeah， 所以呢，因为我们念阿弥陀佛，所以呢，将来我们就是去阿弥陀佛，去那里，极乐世界那里，因为这个娑婆世界太苦了。
Being mindful of the Buddha, reciting his name, will lead us to the Buddha land, the land of ultimate bliss compared to our world that's so filled with difficulties and sufferings.
所以呢，这个就是我们去极乐世界那里，那就解决了这个苦海，五浊恶世这个，而且我们去阿弥陀佛那里也出了三界，三界就是我们的欲界、色界、无色界，我们不在六道里面来轮回啦。
By gaining rebirth in the land of ultimate bliss, we definitely are then apart from sufferings, because we're no longer part of this evil world filled with the 5 turbidities. In fact, we're completely out of the triple realm, the realm of desire, the realm of form, and the realm of formlessness. We will no longer be subjected to cycle of birth and death, the incessant cycles of birth and death.
我们这个佛说无量寿经呢，它是释迦牟尼佛他自己讲出来的一个佛经，因为呢， 它是非常深奥，但这个深奥呢，你一定要能够信啊，最重要能够相信、深信，你就能够到这个佛的这个奥妙的地方，有信呢，然后你才会有愿意来修行，所以我们会来念佛。
Of course, this sutra, like so many associated with Amitabha Buddha, was volunteered by our Buddha. He spoke about Amitabha Buddha without us asking, simply because the principles and the states within are tremendously subtle and deep, very wondrous. So how do we gain entrance into this special teaching? It is with faith, with a complete faith in the Buddha's word. With that, faith will be able to bring forth the vows to be reborn, and then we can then put that conviction into action.
所以呢，这个我们的这个信愿行呢，就是我们的念佛法门的这个三资粮，欠一个都不可以，所以这个三资粮是非常重要。
Indeed, these three aspects, bringing forth the faith, bringing forth vows to be reborn, and putting it into cultivation, are known as the three resources required, three required resources for us to gain rebirth.
所以呢，这个三资粮，我们就是说，我们要，而且你要非常的深信，因为他有时候会来考验你，困难的时候，他看你是不是真心的，是不是还有信心，这个都是一种考验。
In fact, our faith must be deep, must be profound. Otherwise, we will not be able to continue, as we're going to be tested time and again during this journey. We must bring forth our true mind with this cultivation. Otherwise, we will not be successful.
好，然后这个我们下面要来讲这个佛说无量寿经的这个释迦牟尼佛他讲的，这个非常奥妙的道理，所以呢，他这个义理，我们要先能够来了解它的这个真正的义理方面。
So let's now get into the sutra and its profound and very subtle teaching regarding Amitabha Buddha.
所以呢，他这个我们要了解呢，这个义理呢。它有叫做就有五重贤义，就是五种的这个义理啦。哪五种呢？第一个就是释名来解释这个名，这个名 我们知道这个名是《无量寿经》。
The standard way to explain and discuss a sutra involves 5 different aspects. To explain the sutra through 5 layers of subtle explanation so that we understand its true meaning. What is the first layer of explanation? It is a discussion about its title.
像这个解释这个名呢，当然我们是无量寿经，然后我们能够解释这个名，然后我们无量寿经我们就可以辨别出来，然后它这个法，无量它这个每用佛说的法，它都有法的来源，所以法能够出来，辨别出来。
So, for instance, the name of the Sutra of Limitless Life, contains a lot of subtle meaning, deep meaning. One of them being that, like all sutras, this title, this sutra itself, expounds on Dharma spoken by the Buddha.
这个就是经名啊。然后呢，第二个就是辩题，辨别这一部的它的体性，它的主旨是什么？它主要的宗旨是什么？
The second stage of explaining a sutra involves differentiating its body, its essence, from other sutras, so that we understand what principles are being expounded by this particular sutra.
好，再来就是明宗，明白，我们要弄明白这部经《无量寿经》，它是修行，它的这个真正的意义是什么？要明白，它的宗旨是什么？
The third layer of explanation involves an explanation of the goal, the purpose, the true meaning of this sutra. What exactly is this particular teaching good for, driving towards?
还有呢，这个再来就是论用，论用这个就是五种显义里面论用，就是来理论这一部经它的作用，它的作用是来做什么？当然是要来利益众生，给大家众生来修行，大家来念无量寿经就是阿弥陀佛，无量寿佛就是阿弥陀佛，来利益众生的。
The fourth aspect of explaining a sutra has to do with explaining its function and implementation and application. So, in this particular view, the sutra's application, what can it do for us, is discussed. And of course, in this case, the sutra is dedicated to help us gain mindfulness with the Buddha, Amitabha, and thereby being benefited with this particular cultivation.
好，下面呢就是五种显义的最后判教。判教呢，最重要，我们要判别出这一部经的这个教义， 好像是有大小前十，有大教、小教，还有前十，这一些的，的一个教别，我们要了解。
The final aspect of Sutra explanation has to do with determining what body, what aspect of the Buddha's teaching this belongs to. When the Buddha spoke sutras, we can differentiate teachings based on nature of the Buddha's teaching. For instance, it could be a teaching based on Mahayana or Hinayana, the small vehicle, or that this teaching could be a providence teaching, a non-ultimate teaching, or finally a teaching that has to do with the ultimate truth. So this is the final discussion on the nature of this teaching.
所以呢，这个五重贤义呢，在佛典日典上面有，大家可以去查，或者是说我们等一下，最后我们再来介绍这个五重贤义，因为我们这个都要来弄明白，这样子好修行。
So that's the brief explanation of standard ways to dissect a sutra from the 5 different perspectives and 5 different views, so that we fully understand the hidden meaning behind each and every sutra.
好。我们就这个五重贤义就介绍到这里。后面呢，我们要来讲这一部，这个康真凯的这个翻译本啊，佛说无量寿经康真凯的这个版本。
So this sutra, as mentioned before, was translated in ancient China by this Indian monk Kang Sung Kai. He lived during the Triple Kingdom period, which is at the end of the Han Dynasty, the Eastern Han Dynasty.
这个呢，依照这个康真凯的这个里面呢，它有因为康真凯他是康魏，我们讲康魏是算一个康真啊，康真凯是一个人的名字。他是在我们中国三国的时候的一个朝代，就是东汉以后了。东汉以后就是三国鼎立，三国的时代。
So of course, Kang Sung Hai, and his Sanskrit name is Samgavarman. He as mentioned, lived at the end of the Eastern Han, right before the Jin dynasty, right in that period, which is about 1800 years ago, and he came from India.
这个呢，这个就是在西晋以前呢，西晋朝以前啊。就是说大概在1800多年以前。
So again, about 1800 years ago, right before the Jin dynasty.
他这个康真凯呢，他是印度天竺人，他康基，他是那个康基国的人。
This venerable Samgavama Vaman came from India, a small country called Kangji.
Yeah. 然后当然这个有英文的，也有梵文啊，梵文就是什么
Samgavama
Vaman yeah， 它还有英文叫做真切拔摩，他这个康正凯呢，他是一个三藏法师。
This monastic was a high monk. He was revered as a Dharma master of Tripitaka in status, one that understands Sutra, Shastra, and Vinaya.
他这个三藏呢，就是经律论嘛，经啊，就是说我们佛经，经律就是戒律，论就是论用，经律论这个三部。
One attained that status of being a Tripitaka master by being thoroughly mastering the sutras, the Vinaya, and the Shastras, the discussion of the Buddha's teaching by patriarchs throughout the ages.
像那个古时候的这个三藏法师呢，他都要懂，都要知道，甚至于要能够背，背出来，经律论都要能够背，他们都会有考试的，你考过，那才能够成为三藏法师。
To attain that status is not easy, especially in the ancient time. One not only has to have gain thorough understanding of the Tripitaka, one actually has to recite from memory, because back then written words were not that prevalent.
所以呢，刚才讲过了，在中国三国的时候呢，三国曹魏嘉平4年，这个是三国曹魏嘉平，这个是一个年号，在4年的时候，在洛阳，你知道我们在中国河南那个洛阳白马寺，在白马寺那边呢，就有翻译这一部《佛说无量寿经》。
The translation of this sutra actually started by various people during that time. In fact, during the Triple Kingdom period, under the rule of the Wei dynasty, the 4th year of his reign, this sutra was translated already at the White Horse Monastery in the city of Luoyang, province of Henan.
洛阳是非常繁荣的一个都市，很多国都啊，都移到那边。洛阳是非常繁华的地方。
Luoyang, of course, was a prosperous city, being one of the ancient capitals. It was filled with culture and very well developed society.
所以呢，那时候就有翻过这个《佛说无量寿经》，它的原本 因为《无量寿经》后面有很多，还有什么汇集本的，这汇集起来的这个都是无量寿经，因为这个有很多的版本。
And that began the serious translation, and obviously many attempts were made, and this was one of them. In fact, later on, because there were so many versions, so many translations, someone actually took the trouble of combining different versions into a collated version that took in the essence from all the versions at the time.
这个无量寿经很多版本，那我想说我们等一下我们还会再来介绍它怎么样子传来这个我们的中国这里三国时代的这个，那我想跟大家来分享一些小故事。
So, of the many translated versions, this one that we use, of course, is the most popular. For now, let me just use a story to illustrate.
好，我们跟大家分享一个一个叫做贺金斯所哀的这个骂声啊。你知道这个贺金斯呢，就是说乔治华盛顿，美国的国父。
This has to do with a story that's related to the founding father of the United States, George Washington.
Yeah, 国父，美国国父。Yeah. 这样子就是说，在1929年啊，美国在美国，我们现在在美国这里嘛，他发生了一个大事情，他震惊了全国的教育。
In 1929, something tremendous happened that shook the USA, especially its education system.
他呢在几年前呢，有一个名字叫做罗伯·霍金斯的年轻人，这个罗伯·霍金斯，他半工半读，然后呢，而且呢，毕业耶鲁大学。
So this young man, Hutchins, he was very hardworking, and he supported himself through to get educated, ultimately entering Yale University.
而且呢，他也做过作家，就是说写作来吃饭啊。他也做过伐木工人，就是砍木头，雇木头的工人。他也当过家庭教师，还有也当过这个卖成衣的售货员，他都做过这些。
Upon graduation, to make a living, he held many different kinds of jobs. He was a writer. In fact, at one point he was a lumberjack. He also held down a job as a teacher, private teacher. He even became a salesman for clothing.
所以他就是当过很多的这个工作。他现在呢，他已经经过了8年，这些他的经过这个8个年代呢，所以呢，他就被委任了，他就被聘任了美国第4大名校芝加哥大学的校长。
After 8 years or so, he was recognized and was appointed as chancellor of the University of Chicago. At that time, he was only 30 years old.
Yeah. 所以他被芝加哥当了校长，对他只有30岁而已，所以人家都很难相信，老一辈的教育家呢，也都是摇摇头，哇，他这样子能够这样子30岁就能够当校长，真的是给人家不摇摇头的，不相信的。
People just couldn't believe it. Someone this young being appointed to such a prestigious university, the number 4 in terms of ranking at the time in America. People were just shaking their head.
Yeah, 就是说都是摇摇头，然后呢，大家都认为他是一个神童啊，就这样子来称赞他，而且呢，他的也说他的教育观念呢不是很成熟，所以也很多的这个报纸上面呢也来攻击他这样子。
Well, people, impressed as they were, simply could not immediately accept him. And in fact, experienced educators were shaking their heads. And criticisms were rained down on him, even though he was recognized as a talent, as a genius. But then the criticism started picking him apart here and there, especially regarding his concept about education being immature. And these criticisms were published in major newspapers.
Yeah. 所以呢，他都很多的攻击他嘛，报上也攻击。然后呢，但是呢，这个贺世新的父亲呢说呢，就是说这个贺世新这个他的父亲呢，他说，说得非常凶呢，就要牢牢记住你，要牢牢记住人家来攻击你，你要牢牢记住。
So, on the day he arrived at his new post as the chancellor, a friend of his father said to the father, this morning I saw an attack piece on your son. It was really scary. I was shocked. But the dad replied, "You're right. It was very ferocious. But just remember, nobody ever kick a dog and kill it."
Yeah， 就是说你要注意，就是说没有人呢，会踢一个死的狗，要记住，要叫他记住，没有错狗越来越重要，踢的人呢也越来越有满足感。就是说，批评他的人呢，也越来越觉得他非常的快乐，因为他批评人家、踢人家嘛。
So a dog doesn't get killed by someone kicking it. In fact, a dog, as the kicker may gain a certain sense of satisfaction, the dog actually becomes more resilient.
所以这个所以美国人呢，以前都常常会来骂人家，说你这个是大骗子啊，说他的这个后视镜啊，他是大骗子啊、伪君子啊，这些呢，比谋杀犯人呢好一点点而已。报纸上呢也依附这样子漫画，说后视镜呢，他站在这个断头台上面。
The dad said, "Sure, you look at so many people got attacked. Some got attacked as a phony or cheater, or someone just a bit above a murderer. Someone even created cartoons to attack someone, showing that someone being at the guillotine, and when that someone rides a horse through the on the street, people yell at him and boo him. You know who that is?"
所以呢，他这个就他骑在马上经过的时候，都一直在骂他，他骑马在马上街上经过的时候，大家都来喊他骂他。你知道他是谁？他就是美国的国父乔治华盛顿，这个是一个美国的国父。
That's someone who's so reviled, so universally attacked, was no one other than the founding father of the United States, George Washington.
也这个算一个伟人呢，他都是必须要经过很多的批评给人家恶意的批评，所以呢，这个人家就是像一个替死狗一样的替死狗一样的死狗就是把它踢一下，所以呢，这个就是美国的国父华盛顿，华盛顿。那我们台湾中国我们的国父是孙中山先生。
So great men always seem to have to go through a lot of trial and tribulations, lots of criticism, unjustified one. But like a dog, getting kicked is not going to deter that dog, not going to end that dog's mission in life. And of course, in China, Chinese, our republic founding father was Dr. Sun Yat-sen.
Yeah， 孙中山先生是我们的国父。因为呢，像这个，我讲这个故事，就是说我们不要介意人家来冒犯，来讲你怎么样子。就像我们来打地宗念佛，也是一样，会有人来批评你，说你怎么样子啊，只有念佛啊，怎么样子啊，人家也都会讲话，所以呢，我们在这个我们念佛有25菩萨来保护我们，所以我们没有关系，而且我们有10种的功德，我们念佛人，所以这个不要介意人家给你的批评。
So criticism and unfounded attacks, we should just be unmoved and not be bothered. Just like our cultivation here, reciting the Buddha's name, led by ringing the bell. People might criticize us as being too simplistic, that how can you accomplish anything by simply reciting the Buddha's name? Just remember this, whenever we recite, we are protected by 25 bodhisattvas. We also gain tremendous merits and virtues.
好，我们我们不再讲这个故事啦。我们回到我们的这个《无量寿经》，从西汉就是汉朝来传入这个中国的，在三国的时候，西汉朝的时候。
So that's just a nice story to as a segue to our, again, getting back to the sutra. This sutra, of course, again, was introduced to China during the Western Han, at the end of the Western Han dynasty. In fact, at that time, the first translation appeared.
所以呢，那时候汉朝的时候就传这个《无量寿经》就传来中国，所以呢，那时候有出家人僧人呢，就来中国来传授佛法，来翻译佛经，还有梵文，来翻译，都是那时候，就开始有来因为这个所有的佛经呢，大部分都是从我们的印度那一些的过来的。
So that started the increasingly large volume of translation from Sanskrit to Chinese, because that's where the original versions of sutras were in existence at the time.
所以呢，那时候就是后汉朝的时代呢，有一个安息国，沙门安世高，有一个安世高的这个人呢，来翻译这个《无量寿经》，但是呢， 他翻译的已经很可惜不存在了。
So the first translation that we know of was done by a prince from the country Ascanian, one of the countries along the Silk Road, and this prince, very well known, Ansigao, was the first person that attempted translating the Sutra of Limitless Life. Unfortunately, that translation has been lost. We only know that it did take place.
安世高他也有很多的故事，他甚至于他故意去找他的以前的这个仇人啊，要给他杀头，真的还给他杀头，然后就跟他说，这个是我们以前的这个因缘啊，恩怨啊，所以就没有事情这样子。
Ansigao, this special prince, was of course a very well-known figure in the annals of Buddhism. He himself had many remarkable stories. In fact, at one point he had spiritual penetration, saw that he owed somebody a life, and he volunteered himself to have his head cut off by this person that he owed his life to. So it's a remarkable person.
Yeah. 所以呢，他翻译，但是没有存在这个，很可惜，他翻译的这个，再来呢，后汉呢又有印度月之国真人，叫做知七家谦，在洛阳翻译。
So unfortunately, his translation was lost. It's really an unfortunate thing. Then after him, in the late Han Dynasty, another monk from this time from India, by the name of Lakasima, and he produced the second translation at the city of Loyang.
在洛阳那边来翻译，所以呢，他这个名字叫做无量清净平等觉经，总共有4卷，它存在我们的大正藏经里面呢，第12册里面，无量清净平等觉经。
So this monk from the country Yetzi attempted the second translation, and he titled his translation the Sutra of Limitless Purity and Parity Enlightenment Sutra.
我知道有一位法师，他专门就讲这个无量清净平等觉经，这个法师他目前也往生了。
I know of a contemporary monk that has a lecture on this particular version of the sutra, but he's since been reborn. This volume is actually part of the collection in the Buddhist canon.
然后呢，我们这个无量寿经呢，在三国时代，我们就刚才讲了，这个三国那时候，就有呢3位真人，就是出家人啦，来翻译这部经，包括康真凯在内， 存留下来呢，只有2部，一部呢就没有存了，所以我们现在有这个康真凯，这个无量寿经本。
So then now the third attempt is by the translator that we are mentioning here, Kang Sang Kai. And of course, as mentioned, this happened during the Triple Kingdom period, during the Wei dynasty. He completed this translation with the help of 2 other monks, so the 3 of them collectively work on it. Two versions were, 2 copies were produced. Luckily, only one of them survived over the ages.
所以呢，在这个有晋朝的时候，有3个人来翻译过，都没有保存下来，所以这个无量寿经呢，都没有保存下来。有3个人翻译过，在晋朝的时候。
Then later on in the Jin dynasty, which followed the Wei dynasty, 3 other people produced another version. Unfortunately, that version has been lost.
还有这个在刘宋刘宋的时候，这个也是一个朝代啊。刘宋的时候呢，有2个人翻译，也都没有留存下来。这个佛说无量寿经也没有人留下来。
Later yet in the Song dynasty of the Liu lineage, 2 other people attempted another translation. This version also did not survive.
那然后这个唐朝，在唐宋过来就是唐朝，南印度就是印度南边呢，有僧人呢，菩提流支，这个印度这个出家人叫做菩提流支，他也翻译过这个名字叫做《无量寿如来会》，有2卷。
Then as time passed, we're now at the Tang dynasty. A monk from southern India by the name of Bodhi Ruchi attempted yet another translation of the sutra, and he titled it The Assembly of the Tathagata Limitless Life. And this, it was 2 rows of translation, and it survived.
他这个无量如来会呢，他存了在大正藏里面的第11册里面。我想我们有大藏经。
And this translation is collected in the Buddhist canon in the 11th assembled volume. I think we have it here.
Yeah. 还有呢，在赵宋的时候呢，西域那边呢，的一个出家人叫做法贤法师，法贤法师他这个也有电影可以看，有法贤法师，他去西域那边来传法，来学法传法，法贤法师，他的名字呢，他也有翻译，他的 名字叫做《佛说大乘无量寿庄严经》，总共有3卷。
Then we're now, as time passed, we're in the Song dynasty of the Zhao lineage, the proper Song dynasty. Another monk from the western region of China by the name of Dharma Worthy attempted another translation, and he titled his volume The Sutra Spoken by the Buddha, Adornment of the Great Vehicle, Limitless Life. And it has 3 volumes, 3 rows.
Yeah. 它所以这个佛说大乘无量庄严经里面呢，它存在这个大藏经里面呢第12册，第12册本里面。
This volume of 3 rows is collected in the 12 assembled volume of the Buddhist canon.
所以我们讲这个无量寿经呢，我们讲这个无量寿经呢，它是有经过5个不同朝代里面呢，有12位僧人翻译过。
So all told, through 5 Chinese imperial dynasties, 12 different groups of sanghas attempted translation of this particular sutra.
所以呢，这个所以有这部经典呢，总共有5个不同的朝代，就有12位僧人翻译过，也只有五部留存下来。这个表示说我们出家人或者是在家人呢，都可以来学习这一部经典。这个是我们也非常关心，也非常重视这一部佛说无量大乘经典。
So unfortunately, of the 12 versions of translation, only 5 survived. Nevertheless, the fact that such a large number attempts to translate clearly indicate the importance in the Sangha's mind, the collective Sangha's mind, regarding this particular sutra. That time and again they wanted to make it available to the Chinese. And it's just something they truly view as greatly important.
所以呢，尤其是我们学净土的，就是念佛宗的，是一个根本的经典呢。对于我们也其他的宗门也是要来重视。最重要，我们这部经典呢，佛说无量寿经呢，最重要就是能够导归极乐，去西方极乐世界。
So of course, for us Pure Land cultivators, this particular sutra is simply the foundational one, the most important one. Further, even for other schools of Buddhism, other cultivators of that follow different teachings, this sutra is also tremendously important, as it clearly expounds on the way for all of us to return to the land of ultimate bliss.
所以呢，这个 我们来重讲这个无量寿经呢，我们算今天是第一次第一天第一次，我们以后每个礼拜礼拜一晚上我们都会有这个时间来安排出来，我们来讲无量寿经，大家一起来研究这个无量寿经。
So we're going to continue to expound on this teaching contained in this sutra. We shall be doing it every Monday from here on out, every week. You're greatly welcome to join us to learn from this sutra and its teaching.
下面呢有一点时间，我再跟大家来讲一个小故事啦。我们今天晚上时间也蛮长的。一个小故事啊，他说这个英国女王啊，英国女王，还有她这个她的先生呢，公爵公爵就是说，这个两个人的一个故事。
So for the remaining time, I would like to tell another story, and this story has to do with Queen Elizabeth and her husband, the Duke of Edinburgh.
他这个在英国那边呢，就是大英帝国，就是1840年，那时候他们结婚啦，维多利亚女王还有那个阿尔伯特公爵，公爵就是她丈夫啦，他们是一个幸福的一对。
The story began with Queen Victoria when she married her own husband in the year 1840.
这个女王的这个丈夫呢，阿尔伯特呢，他比较喜欢读书啊，他对于这个社交也不太喜欢，而且这个也对于国家的政治也不太兴趣，所以然后呢，有一次这个女王来敲她丈夫的门。
Her husband, Prince Albert, was a person that loved to learn and loved to read, but not so with social matters, especially politics. So one day, the Queen knocked at his door.
然后呢，她那个女王来敲这个她丈夫的这个门呢，然后那就她丈夫来敲这个女王的门，然后就问说谁啊？谁再来敲门啊？那这个女王回答英国女王。
So the prince answered the door and says, "Who is this?" And the queen said, "This is the Queen of England."
因为她丈夫呢，他是不关心社交的，只有喜欢读书，所以呢，他听到这个来敲门呢都没有动静，而且敲了几次呢，好，这个女王呢敲了几次呢，都没有什么动静，然后这个又再敲一次，然后呢，用很温柔的这个口气是说，我是 你的妻子啊，亲爱的。
But after he answered, and the queen pronounced herself and her presence, he ignored her. She continued to knock at the door for several more times, and he did not respond because he's that kind of person, simply not very sensitive to social status and ranking. So finally she tried it one more time, and he asked who, and this time she said, I am your lovely and caring wife.
所以呢，他听到讲这样子的话以后呢，他这个门就打开来了，她丈夫就打开来了，因为他这个算木头人啊，只有喜欢读书，不喜欢社交，所以呢，就听到说，哦，原来是有太太来敲门，所以他这门打开了。
So finally, this wooden man, this stiff man, responded and opened the door for his wife.
好，我们呢，再来回到我们这个讲这个我们研究无量寿经呢，我们要注意这个五重显义，就是这个第一个释名，第二个辩题，第三个明宗，第四个论用，第五个判教。现在我们再来复习一下这个五重显义。
So to wrap things up today, let's go back to our earlier discussion on how one studies a sutra. One approaches a sutra through 5 different aspects, 5 layers of understanding, so that one truly understands its hidden meaning. And of course, those 5 approaches are: the first one, understanding the title; the second one, understanding the essence of the sutra; and then we then understand its principle, and fourthly, understand how to apply it, how to implement it and practice it, and then finally understanding which category of teaching this particular sutra belongs to.
所以呢，这个我们的这个第一个就是我们讲这个释名，这个就是名字，佛说无量寿经，所以这个很重要。我们这个是一个经名，我们来把这个名字呢把它弄清楚了，那我们就知道后面呢，然后就来辩题，辩题它是主要的体性是什么？
So the first layer of understanding of sutra, of course, is to understand its title, and in this case, the title is revealing in that number 1 is a sutra spoken by the Buddha without being asked.
然后呢，这个我们明宗就是来了解无量寿经它这个真正的意思，然后呢用就是我们这一步的要做什么作用啊，当然就是来利益众生，来利益大家一起来念佛。
Second layer of understanding, of course, is to understand the body, so to speak, of this sutra, what it's all about, and then finally, how do we use it for our own cultivation? It's on the third layer of understanding.
所以呢，这个最后就是来判教，来判别出这一部的教义，是大乘啊、小乘啊，前啊，前还有实，它的前实等等的，所以我们能够来了解这部经，这个非常重要。我们今天算我们第一次来重讲这个我说无量寿经，所以我们能够来了解这个非常重要。
So follow that as we get deeper into the understanding, we then understand how this sutra benefits living being, and finally, comprehending which particular category this sutra belongs to, whether it's a Mahayana sutra or Hinayana small vehicle sutra, whether it's a provisional nature of a sutra, or it goes right straight to the true nature kind of sutra. So today being the first time we started this lecture series, it's good that we review these fundamentals of understanding sutras.
所以呢，下个一样的礼拜一的时候，我们同样时间，7点半到9点，我们就开始进入经文啦。这个经文里面呢，是在佛在王舍城起舍节三宗里面讲的这个经文，所以我们下一次呢，我们就开始进入这个经文了。这个我们今天只是一个开场白，就是把这些我们的能够算一个皮毛，先入，好像讲的进去万佛圣城这个三门，我们开始进入啦。
So when we return, 是不是2个礼拜之后？2个礼拜，你方才说2个礼拜之后，还是下个礼拜？
下礼拜啊。
下个礼拜 ，OK。So next Monday we're going to go right into the sutra. Today is just an introductory talk in nature.
就是说我在这里在 BBM 这边，我们有机会来大家一起研究，非常好。那有时候我会去Arizona 那边，我们再研究看看怎么样子。
去哪里
？Arizona。
Arizona，OK。
Arizona 就是说，我女儿那边，她要回去，这样子看。好，我们时间也差不多啦，大家看有没有什么问题可以问的
？Any questions?
没有的话，我们一样的，明天12点半到1点，我们还是有念佛，欢迎大家不要忘记，大家来参加。我们明天中午12点半到1点念佛。
No question, then please join us tomorrow at 11:30 for Buddha recitation session.
好，我们想最后我们来礼佛三拜，然后来顶礼老和尚。好，我们
bow to the Buddhas.
Yeah. 好，礼佛三拜。顶礼老和尚， 好，阿弥陀佛。
阿弥陀佛。
下礼拜一样的，下礼拜一，还可以讲一下。
你上期不是已经讲了很多品了吗？为什么现在要从头开始？
这个对，因为 COVID-19 后来就停掉了。
停到那里，为什么不从那一点开？
我们有增团开会呀，开会要重讲，因为有大陆的同胞他即是讲说，要求重
讲，
重讲无量寿经，因为他那个即使他都一直在听嘛，听无量寿经，他一直在跟念佛也跟啊，他很亲近的。
在哪位上？
大陆的，好像
那现在建传师他去了哪里？
去英国，他跟晋伟他们在英国。
英国。
英国那边。